Right now, we're on the telephone line with William Mickey Stevenson, Motown's first A&R man.
Hello, hello out there.
Hello, Mickey. Welcome to our program. Do you want me to call you William or Mickey or Mr. Stevenson?
No. Mickey Stevenson. That's good.
Mickey Stevenson, okay.
Yeah.
Now, you are one of the architects of the sound of young America. You discovered musicians, you wrote hit songs, and you produced superstars. William Mickey Stevenson, Motown's first A&R man, welcome to our program.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here.
We're very happy to have you. Have you ever been to Japan before?
Yes, I was there for a moment. I came in once with Wilson Pickett. Remember him? Well, I'm sure you do.
Of course.
Mustang Sally.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, it's perfectly okay to sing. So if you feel the spirit, and I know you often feel the spirit, go ahead and sing whatever you like, Mickey.
Yeah, okay. I came in there with a guy named Big Tots. I think he booked a lot of shows from America. Mm-hmm. And I came in with a group called Hodges, James, and Smith.
Ooh.
And we were all on one tour.
Yeah.
And I had a wonderful time there.
I'm sure you did. Well, when are you going to come back? I guess that's a big question.
When am I? Oh, as soon as this mess lightens up, we can travel.
Yeah, this is a mess. By the way, of course, we're now seeing you in this movie, Hitsville, The Making of Motown.
Yes, that was quite a deal. It was going to be longer, and I would have had even more in there, but it was just so. By the time they covered everybody, it was over. The information was phenomenal there.
Well, you know, you have your book out, too, right now, called Motown's First A&R Man Presents the A&R Man. And
yep.
you personally autographed that for me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, John talked about you, and I said, well, you know, this guy needs I can't just send him a book. He needed an autographed book so he could, you know, have something to say, so show that we have a relationship.
Absolutely.
I was very happy about that.
Well, thank you very much.
Did you get your reading in on the book?
Oh, I got some reading, and I got some questions for you from the book today. By the way, Mickey, that should be a movie in itself.
Well, they're working on it. Different production companies have called me to do the film. As a matter of fact, I've had 3, and they're talking about doing it as a television show and as a movie.
Wow.
Each scene, each person that I met is a story in its own right. You know?
Yes, I read some of those stories, and I'm going to ask you to tell us some of those stories as we get into this. Folks, if you don't know who Mickey is, let me just kind of paint a brief picture. Mickey, you were responsible for discovering and developing so many Motown superstars like Stevie, Jackie, Lionel, Diana, Jackson 5, Smokey, Martha, Temptations, Four Tops, Marvin Gaye, to name but a few.
Well, you added a couple in there that I didn't really discover, like the Jackson 5. They came. I was there when they got in when we started with them.
Right.
They were. I didn't discover them. I was there when they got there. I don't want to take credit for something that I didn't do.
Okay. Yeah. You've been responsible for so many more, and I'll be asking you about those. But my question for you is, how were you discovered, or how were you recruited to working at Motown?
Well, I gave details of it in my book. But what happened was I was handling musicians in the city, like making sure they got paid for their jobs and booking them in clubs as musicians.
Right.
And that came because one of the musicians at the time came to me to borrow some money to pay his rent.
Uh-huh.
And I said to him, "Say, man, I just saw you in the gig. Didn't you get paid?" He said, "Yeah, man, but by the time they took off for my drinks and the food that I ate, I didn't get enough money. So could you just loan it to me, and I'll pay you back?" So I said to him, "Loan it to you?" I said, "Well, what are they paying you?" So he told me.
Uh-huh.
I said, "I'll tell you what. Let me go over there and talk to your club owner and see if I can work out something better for you."
Mm.
And he said, "Would you do that, man?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "But if I do, I want 10%.
Ooh.
He said, "No problem." So I went over to the club. I sat down with the owner.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Listen, you got these guys coming in here working like 5 hours, 6 hours every night.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give them something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Then you take that out of their money.
Mm-hmm.
Then they take a drink or two. Now you take that out of their money.
Uh-huh.
They get 5 nights. They end up with nothing.
Mm.
He said, "Well, they drink and they eat." I said, "Hold it, man. That's nothing. That's unfair."
Mm-hmm.
I said. He said, "Well, they come in late sometime and all that." I said, "Well, they're struggling, trying to survive."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "I tell you what, I'll make sure they're here on time. You make sure that at certain times throughout the night, they get a chance to get a bite to eat.
Mm-hmm.
The drinks, I'm not concerned with.
Mm-hmm.
But the food, don't take it out of their money."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "You're going to make sure they're here at on time?" I say, "I mean, if they're not on time, I'll pay you."
Wow.
He said, "Okay." I said, "Hold it. Now I want 10%. And he said, "You won't give you to." I said, "I'm guaranteeing you they'll be here. If something goes wrong, I have to pay you."
Oh.
He said, "You got a deal." So it started with one guy.
Uh-huh.
Well, by the time one guy told another musician who told another one, all of a sudden, I got him coming to me. I mean, help me with my job, help me with my gig. Now, personally, I would only deal with the ones who are very good.
Right.
I mean, they got gifts. Like, you got a gift, I got a gift. They had gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and I watched them play. I said, "Okay, I'll handle you. I'll deal with you." So I worked with 3 or 4 or 5 clubs around the city.
Mm-hmm.
All right. When I meet Berry Gordy at a barbershop.
At a barbershop, yeah.
Right. We're both getting our hair done and everything.
What style hairdo were you getting back then?
Well, in those days, they made a lot of waves in the hair.
Yeah.
They would straighten it and then wave it.
Oh, yeah. There's some big waves there. You could go surfing on some of those waves.
Yeah, you could go surfing. You got that right. And the guy who ran the shop was named Benny Mullins. We called him Muldoon.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a great shop. Every artist that come to Detroit and they wanted to get ready for their show, they would go to his shop to get their hair done.
All right.
So that was the place to be. So it happens that Benny and I were friends, and Benny and Barry were friends, because Barry was one of his customers as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we happened to be in there at the same time. So Benny said to Barry, "Hey, man, this is the guy, Mickey Stevenson, I was telling you about." And, of course, he said the same thing to me about Barry. So he and Barry and I started talking. I said, "Man, Berry Gordy, it's a pleasure to meet you, man. I know you're handling, producing and writing for Jackie Wilson, and I got some great songs for Jackie Wilson." And he said, "Well, I heard you work with the musicians in the city and everything."
Wow.
He said, "Well, what is your game plan?" I said, "Well, first of all, I sing and I write myself, so I think we can get together and do some things together. You can produce me like you do it with Jackie."
I see.
And he said to me, "I tell you what, I'm leaving town. I'm going to finish an album with Jackie, and I'll meet back with you when I come back. Let's hook up because I really want to talk to you." I said, "Okay, fantastic." I said, "By the way, can you take," I had sheet music in my pocket. I said, "By the way, can you take this song, see if he'll record it?"
That was brave. That was brave.
Yeah, right. So Barry said, No, I got this. I said, "Okay." Anyway, about 3 months later, he's back. Called me. I go over to his place and to his apartment. And I mean apartment. It was nothing but an apartment. And I go in and he rang the bell. You got to grab the door for it, close and all that, and run in. Yeah. And I'm saying to myself, this guy's producing Jackie Wilson and he's living like this. What's going on? When I get to his apartment, he's standing there in his shorts with the phone in his hand. And he's saying to me, "Come on in, man, come on in. I heard about your songs. Let me hear some of them." So right away, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Because this is my big chance, right?
Yes, yeah. Sure.
So I throw my briefcase on the floor, grab 2 or 3 songs, and I look around and see no piano or nothing. So I'm singing them straight out. After about the 3rd song, he said, "You got pretty good songs there." I said, "Wait a minute. Let me show you the one we're going to come out with me for my first record." He said, "Wait a minute. I didn't call you in here to make no records."
Oh.
I said, "What? What do you mean? I'm a singer and I'm a writer?" No, he said, "Yeah, but he said your songs are pretty good." He said, "Can I say this on the air?"
Sure. We can bleep it out if it doesn't work.
Okay. He said, but your voice is for shit.
Hey, Mickey,
Yeah.
can you give us a little sample of that voice?
Baby, don't you leave me. Baby, don't you leave me. Don't you break my heart.
Okay. I think I understand. I understand where Barry was coming from.
Well,
He he didn't mean to break your heart. He was just trying to point you in the right direction.
that's pretty good. I like that. Anyway, I said, I was upset. So I grabbed my music off the floor. He said, where you going? I said, man, I don't need this. I'm getting ready to leave. He said, well, wait a minute. I want you to be the A&R man for this. I'm be starting with. I said, A&R, what is that?
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, and he said, well, I guess it's supposed to be, representing the artists and the music.
Right.
But I said, why me? He said, well, I heard, and I'm from the musicians, that you know all the guys, the best. You know the best talent, and you negotiated for them. So I want you to do that for me.
Wow.
I said, A&R, we don't. I said, how much you paying?
Oh.
He said, you're going to love this part.
Uh-huh.
He said, $5 a day.
Oh. What year was this?
This is back in 50s, late 50s.
Okay.
I said, $5 a day? Oh, man. I grabbed my music, pick it up off the floor, put it in my briefcase, and I'm starting down the hall. And I walked out of his place. He's standing there with the door open, and I'm walking back, ready to get out of the whole building. As I'm walking down the building, I got to tell you, Kong, I said to myself, I can hear my mother saying to me, you want to get in this business, you want to be as a talent, you got to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. If you don't start, you don't know what you can do. Mm-hmm. And I stopped. I turned around, walked back to the door. He's still standing there with the door open in his shorts.
I'm trying to picture that right now.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Weird, man.
Okay.
And it was a one-room apartment. It wasn't like a great apartment. He had a one room. Wow. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at that too, and I'm saying, wow. So I said to him, okay, I'll tell you what. You're paying $5 a day. A&R, man. I said, who do I report to? He said, me. Mm-hmm. I say, nobody else? He said, you and me. Wow. That's it. Mm-hmm. I said, when do I start? He said, you already have.
Wow. So you started out $5 a day, what, $25 a week, something like that?
With a handshake.
With a handshake. Wow.
I got to tell you, though, as I was leaving, when I was shaking his hand, Smokey Robinson was coming down the hall.
Oh.
He walked up at the same, I'm standing there now. Smokey and I knew each other because we had vocal groups at school. You know, he had his group, I had my group. We were battling around, singing and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Making parties and everything. Mm-hmm. And Smokey said, Mickey, what you doing here? He said, Barry, what's with Mickey? And Barry said, he's going to be the A&R man for our company. And Smokey said, oh, man, that's great. Mickey knows all the musicians and blah, blah, blah. He said, by the way, man, I got a session tomorrow, and I definitely need a good bass player and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay. And Barry said, wait a minute. You going to do it like that? I said, am I the A&R man for this company? He said, yeah. I said, then I got this.
Oh, I like that.
And sure enough, when Smokey went for his session, I had a great bass player, and they went to cooking. That was the beginning of our relationship.
Wow.
All with a handshake and an understanding. Took about 1 hour.
So how long were you making $5 a day? And I'm sure that blossomed into much, much more.
Oh, no, that went on for a while.
Oh, wow.
That went on for a while. And but the $5 a day was not the reason for the job. The idea of working and being able to deal with talent was inspiring for me. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And you worked with some of the biggest talents in the world, starting with the fabulous Funk Brothers from that movie, Standing in the Shadows of Motown.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
I remember the opening of that movie where they said that the Funk Brothers, I'm trying to remember this. Oh, by the way, it was also in your book. It said the Funk Brothers played on more #1 hits than the Beach Boys, the Rolling Stones, Elvis, and the Beatles combined.
Yes.
Which makes them the greatest hit machine of all time.
Yes, they were. They were unbelievable.
Wow.
And picked them one at a time, each one separately, and they were all as gifted, obviously, as we are at what we do. And playing was one thing, but I was looking for the gift, that extra thing, that drive that makes you want to be as great as you could be.
Right.
I found better players, even the singers. I found better singers, but they didn't have that drive. They thought they already had it made, or whatever they had in their heads. And when I ran across that kind of a problem with the gift, I back away.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And I keep looking.
What was that one thing that you were looking for when you auditioned a new talent, or when you went out to look for a new talent? What was it precisely that you were looking for that made you know this is an artist that I want to have here in Motown?
I was looking for, like I said, that driving force, that thing that makes you say, I'm gonna do this no matter what. I'm gonna do it. And if I fail, I fail, but I'm going after it. You gotta get that feeling in a person. When they sing, they'll sing with that attitude. When they write, they'll write with that attitude. When they play, they'll play with that attitude. You know what I mean? The gift of the sound, whether it be the voice or the way they play the piano or the way they hit the drums, all that, that's one thing. That meant, and when it's right, that meant that they spent hours at it. Not just doing it for fun. They spent hours at it.
Well, let me ask you about your tambourine man, Jack Ashford.
Yes.
He was Mr. Tambourine Man. I had a chance to meet him here in Tokyo together with Joe Hunter.
Yeah.
I had a chance to interview them at a place called the Cotton Club. They were sponsoring my radio program at that time. And we're sitting back having a great conversation. And the next day, I was supposed to do an interview with Stevie Wonder. And I asked those guys, I said, Joe, do you have any message for Stevie? I'm going to be interviewing him tomorrow. And Joe, in his own unique style, scratched the bottom of his chin, and he said, yeah, tell Stevie he owes us some money.
Yeah, well, I can understand that because they played on every one of his hits.
Absolutely. Those guys were so cool.
I got to tell you the Stevie Wonder story. It's in the book.
Yeah, please.
But the bottom line is, when I had my assistant working with me, name was Clarence Paul. Clarence Paul and I used to do a duet together, the San Dave thing around the city. And Clarence was a great singer. I mean, blues singer. He was the best.
Right.
He could take any song and make the blues out of it. I don't care what it is. He had that kind of thing. And so when things got a little rough and I got the job as A&R man, I decided to call him in to be my assistant. Now, at that time, in those days, you had to have 10, 12 tunes in an album.
Right.
You put your best two in, your first and second release from that album, and then you fill it up with some product. Now, the kind of person that I am, and Barry knew this, I don't know how he had that gift, but he knew it. I just didn't want songs. I want good songs in there. I want every song to be as good as it can be.
Right.
But the ones that I thought were even better, we'd hold those out for our second releases and that sort of thing. So I said, Clarence Paul, I need you to make sure that every one of these albums, what we call the B-sides or the fill-ins, are good. So stay with that. So that was his job for me.
Big responsibility.
His responsibility, and he was good at it. The problem came when he wanted to produce some of the main artists. I couldn't take them up for Smokey, Holland Doja, Norman. I couldn't pull them from them to give them to him because they're coming up with the hits.
Right.
So it got to a point he was really pushing me with that. And I could see the disappointment in him after about a year. I mean, I could see it happening in his face. And so I said to my secretary, which was Martha Reeves at the time, I said, you know what, let me set Clarence up for a meeting with me. I think I'm going to, give him some money, give him a few advance and pay him off and, let him go. And she said, okay. She said, by the way, he wanted to have a meeting with you. I said, okay, set it up right away. So Clarence Paul and I have our meeting. And he said, well, what did you want to meet with me about, Mickey? And he called me William R. I said, well, let me know, what did you want first? He said, well, man, I can't get with none of the major artists, so, I've been here for a while. There's nothing happening. I appreciate the job, man. He said, but I think I ought to move on. So I said, wow, you relieved me of the problem I had, right?
Wow.
I said, oh, well, okay, man. I'll see. He said, well, hold it. But before I go, I'd like to try one thing. I said, in a joyful mood, I said, what's that, man? He said, I found this little kid, man, and he's really unique and special, and I'd like to try a couple of songs on him.
Mm.
I said, hey, man, no problem. You can do that. He said, but one more thing. I said, what's that? He said, he's about 10, 11 years old.
Oh.
I said, what are you talking about? We're going to do with a 10, 11-year-old kid. You know what that means? That means you got to have, the Board of Education in here and all that. No, forget all that, man. He said, wait a minute. You said I could do it. And your word is your bond, man. It's been that way all the time. You're going to change now?
All right.
I said, okay. Yeah, get a couple of songs. Let me see what's happening. He said, no, one more thing. I said, you're pushing it, Clarence. He said, he's blind.
Oh.
I said, you have lost your mind. What are we going to do with a blind kid running around in this place? All these stairs, he falls, something happened. Barry Gordy want to hang me, and I'm going to hang you. He said, man, you said I could do it. And he said, your word, man. You remember how your word is, man, don't you? I said, okay, Clarence, here's the deal. I said, what does he do? He said, man, he plays instruments. He blows harmonica. He sings. I said, I tell you what, you bring that little wonder kid in here. And every time I see him, I want to see you. I want to see you hand in hand. All right?
Mm-hmm.
He said, okay, man. Then he said, well, what did you want to talk to me about? I said, how about getting out of here?
Wow, what a story. This is a movie in itself.
Wait a minute, it gets better.
Oh, okay. Continue, please. Well, but hold on. Can I put a bookmark here? I want you to pick up. Did you say Martha Reeves was your secretary?
Yeah. I'll give it. It's in the book. It's in the book.
That's another story. I got to hear it. Okay, continue with Stevie Wonder.
Anyway, 2.5, 3 weeks later, Clarence comes in with Stevie. Mm-hmm. Now, we're in the studio. We just finished the session. You know how musicians are. When they finish, they still playing because they got to wind down. You know,
right.
They got to wind down.
Sure.
So Clarence walks in while the guys are still kind of beating, got a little groove going in there. Mm-hmm. Clarence takes Stevie over to the drums. Mm-hmm. The drummer looks at him. Benny Benjamin was his name. Benny looks at Stevie, and Clarence nods his head. So Benny gets up off the drums, helps Stevie sit down in the spot. Stevie feels the drums with his hand, mm-hmm. and he goes right into the groove that the band is playing. Then he makes a run. Clarence took him out. He got off the drums. Everybody's looking surprised. The groove is still going on.
Wow.
Clarence takes him to the organ player, mm-hmm. Earl Van Dyke, mm-hmm. and he looks at Earl. Earl recognizes Stevie wants that Clarence wanted to get an organ. Earl moves out the way, and Stevie starts feeling her keys and goes right into it. He's playing that pillar. Now the band is getting fired up. They said, "What's going on now?" So they boosted. Wow, they hitting it. He gets off the organ. Clarence takes him over to the microphone. Mm. Stevie reaches in his pocket, pulls out a harmonica, and starts. Now, the groove never stops now, but it's even hotter. Now he's in it. Makes it run. And he starts like, oh, baby, like that. I say, oh, what?
Wow. You knew you had a hit maker right there, right then and there.
Oh, well, the drive.
Yeah.
For that kind of, the gift was one thing. Mm-hmm. But for him to be able to do those things, that meant, that's in him. He never stopped beating on tables and walls and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Before me.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Barry's office while they're in the studio. I said, BG, we got this little kid down here. We want to sign him. I want to sign him right now. And he said, a kid? What are you talking about? I said, 11 years old. He's blind. He said, what? Do you know? I said, Barry, have I brought you anything wrong so far? He said, no. I said, sign it.
Wow.
And have a whole lot of conversation.
Now, I'm guessing Stevie was being paid more than $5 a day?
Well, he no pay now, no pay.
No pay.
Nobody getting paid unless you work.
Oh, okay.
But what Stevie got was an opportunity to come by every day, sit into the room and watch the other guys work and create. And he was like a sponge. He was absorbed. He'd walk in the Holland Doja's room where they're writing their song.
Mm-hmm.
He'd walk in my room where I'm writing mine. I had about 4 or 5 rooms where my producers that were really good at. They had their spaces with their tape recorders so they can keep creating. You know what I mean?
So this was kind of like an apprenticeship for Stevie.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was an opportunity for him to learn.
He came every day and stayed as long as he could. We had to get him out of there. And he was absorbing everything. So when it came down to him doing a song, he had already, from the gift that God gave him, plus what he was absorbing, he was filling up. You know what I mean?
And of course, when he did Fingertips on TV, was it the Ed Sullivan Show that he was on?
Well, yeah. But he originally did Fingertips at the Apollo.
At the Apollo, yeah.
Yeah. And that was his first record, that meant anything. He was on stage, and Clarence Paul, I kept Clarence Paul now, right? Clarence Paul ever had with it hand in hand, like I asked him to do. And Clarence Paul was conducting the orchestra when Stevie was singing. So and that audience fell in love with it. We came back home and then to the studio, that was in New York. We came back to Detroit, and I had Clarence go in and tighten up a few things. Keep that same orchestra, that same tape, but blow up a few things. Keep that live sound in it.
Now, was that Clarence who said, what key, what key?
Yep. Yep. You got it.
But they had rehearsed it, but he still had to yell out. Why did he yell out, what key, what key?
Because he was talking to the musicians and stuff.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What an exciting moment.
Amazing moment. Amazing moment.
Are you still in contact with Stevie today?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
When you see that at the Motown special, I think you'll see he and I together and Barry. We're all together. Yeah, Stevie. I love Stevie Wonder.
Me too. I've had a chance to be with him on several different occasions, together with his brother Milton, who brought me up to the hotel room one time where Stevie was sitting on a sofa with a keyboard in front of him on the coffee table, and he was jamming. And I just happened to have a recording that I made a couple years earlier of Oscar Peterson making some comments about Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
I used to do a little thing called the name game. So whenever I would interview an artist, I would have a whole list of names, which I have for you, by the way, coming up a little later. And I would throw the name out and say there are no right answers, no wrong answers. Oscar Peterson, just your answer. And so I asked him about a variety of people, including Stevie Wonder. And Oscar said the most complimentary thing you could imagine to Stevie Wonder. And when I played that for Stevie, he was just completely blown away. He said, when did he do this? I got to meet him. I'll go anywhere to meet him. I mean, when it comes to keyboard players, there's Art Tatum and Oscar Peterson. And that's it.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Truly amazing. Yeah. Now, let me backtrack a little bit. You were talking about Martha Reeves. She was your secretary, did you say?
Yeah. She would say assistant.
Assistant. Okay.
When I hired her, she says, I said, okay, I want you to be my secretary. She says, I'll be your assistant.
Okay. So how did she get from being your assistant to dancing in the streets?
Okay, it's in the book.
I know it's in the book. I know it's in the book, but we're doing a radio interview here, so I want to pull some of this stuff out of you and get you to tell us about some of this stuff.
Okay. Martha would come to the studio. I was auditioning, let's say, about 25 to 35 people every week.
Wow.
But I was looking for not just artists. I was looking for writers, creative people with a possibility of being able to produce. I was looking for musicians. I was in a hunt at all times.
Right.
And it was just part of the drive in me to see that Motown had the best it could be as long as I was there. And it was like a 24-hour thing to me. I loved every minute of it. So.
Yeah, but it did cost you something in your personal life, too, which we'll get to in a few minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's part of it. At any rate, Martha would come to audition. And I wasn't really looking for female singers. I had enough of them. So I find a way to get out of some of that. And my secretary got to be a friend of Martha's because she was there every opportunity she could get.
Right.
So they became friends. And she kept telling Martha that we're going to work, we're going to get them a chance to hear you and all that, blah, 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 blah. So it got down to the point that my secretary was leaving because her husband had a job in another place and she was going to go and be with him at that place, that city, whatever. And she wanted to make sure that I had somebody that would be good for me. And at any rate, I come to my office, open the door, and here's Martha on my private phone in the office.
Oh.
I'm very upset about that.
Sure.
And I'm going to get ready to give her a piece of my mind, and she put her finger up like, hold it just a minute. And she's talking to the person on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
She said, yes, I got that. Okay, well, I'll tell Mr. Stevenson when you, okay, all right, I'll let him know as soon as he walks in, like that. And she hang up. I say, Martha, what you doing on my phone? She says, well, your secretary told me to handle it for a minute, and she said, but before we get too deep in this person called you. He said, it's very important. And this one here from the union called you, and he said, you got to get in touch with them right away. So I said, well, Martha, hold on to this conversation. Me and you get that person on the phone. So she got him on the line. Blah, 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 blah. When I got through with that one, she said, okay, give me the guy from the union. She got him on the line. And when she finished, it dawned on me she handled that very well, the whole thing. So I said, Martha, I don't want to take you on as a singer right now. I'll get around to that. I said, but I think I'd like to have you as my secretary. Would you take that as a job? She said, Mr. Stevenson, I wouldn't be nobody's secretary. I'll be your assistant.
Okay, smart girl.
Smart girl. I said, okay, assistant, I'll buy that. And she said, I said, no, one other thing now. Yours 9 to 5, 9 to 6 at the most. But me personally, I don't leave here till I'm finished. So I may be at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. She says, Mr. Stevenson, I leave when you leave.
Wow.
I said, I ain't paying no overtime. She said, I ain't asking for no overtime. I'll leave when you leave.
Dedication.
Remember I told you about that, see?
Yeah.
She loved being around the sound, the building, the opportunity. People, when they got that kind of drive, man, and talent, forget it. They're going to make it whether you like it or not. You got me?
Yeah.
All you can do is help them.
That's right.
So I said, okay, Martha. So she became my secretary. How she got to get off with the song and everything, that's a whole nother ballgame. Well, I'll give you some of that. Marvin Gaye and I and Ivy Jo Hunter,
right,
we're writing this song for Kim Weston. We went to the song, we were in the studio, we got the lyrics down, we got the feeling of the song, and it has a feeling that we want in the projection of the artist. So Ivy Jo said to me, man, you're going to get Kim to sing it with a lighter feeling where she got that strong voice and all that. I said, yeah. So Marvin said, well, man, how you going to get her to do that? I say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give her a demo with the kind of sound we're looking for. And she's good at that. She'll learn it and then deliver. He said, okay, who's going to make the demo? I said, I got the perfect person.
Oh, yeah.
I said, I'm going to get Martha to do it. Then she can stop bugging me about doing some recording for a while.
There you go.
And give us something to think about. So they said, okay. So I hollered upstairs, Martha. Yeah, I said, come down here. I want you to do a dub in for me. She loved that idea.
Oh, yeah?
She came downstairs. We give her the music, sing a little bit of it, in each one of us, the feeling we had for the song.
Which song was this?
Dancing in the Street.
Oh, okay. You wrote that song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And,
Me,
whoa,
Marvin
this is getting good. What?
Marvin Gaye, Ivy Joe, and I wrote that song, Dancing in the Street.
Yeah.
And so they said to me, when she went out in the studio, she started singing. She stopped, did another run. She said, okay, let's take it from the top. I'm going all the way. We said, okay. And when she finished, Marvin Gaye looked at me, I looked at him. Ivy Joe Hunter, and he's a whole nother story that I'll tell you about later. When he came in, I brought him in he wanted to be a singer. I brought him in as a writer. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'll get around to you singing later, but you got the ability to do writing. And stick with me, and I'll make you a good writer and producer. And then we'll get around to your singing. Once he got involved, he said, I will not cut my hair until I have a hit. I said, well, that's you. Now, months later now, we're in the studio doing this moment I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Marvin looked at me after he heard Martha. Ivy Joe looked at me. Ivy Joe said, William R., I can get a haircut.
It sounds like you guys had a great relationship and you had a lot of fun at Motown back in the day.
Oh yeah. You can't do it without fun. No other way can it work, especially when you're in creative mode. Fun is the greatest gift God could give you. All right, the talent to create and the joy of doing it. Those are two incredible gifts.
And you were able to find and develop people who had those gifts, and you had the gift to be able. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I met different artists that came to me, I look, other than the voice or the writing, whatever they do, I look to see what else they got that will tie in with that kind of gift. If I didn't see it, I may give them a chance for a little while, but then I let them go. Mm-hmm. Because they got too many things in their head. They got home problems, wife problems, boyfriend problems, all those things blocking out of their drive and force to be great at what they do. You with me?
I'm definitely with you. And when you got someone that you thought was a good talent and you felt that you could develop them, what kind of advice did you give them? Were there any basic rules that you laid out?
Yeah.
For example?
You got 24 hours in a day.
Yep.
8, in your case, you go to school. Mm-hmm. 8, in your case, you take care of your schoolwork, your homework, and all that. The other 8 belongs to the gift and the art you're trying to pursue. Mm-hmm. And if you can't account for that time, you lose. Now, if you give me 3 or 4 hours of it, working on talent, you'll be okay. You give me 5 or 6, you're going to be in the great group. You put more than that in it, nobody can stop you. Not me, nobody. Mm. So it's up to you. Those are my rules.
I'm sure there are many musicians who are listening right now who would like some advice from you. What kind of advice would you give to a struggling musician in today's 2020 world?
Same rules, same thing. 8 to sleep, 8 to work. What are you doing with the other 8 hours? Mm-hmm. Every day. And on weekends, you can give it 16. How much time are you going to really give it? You're going to give it 2, then 3?
I see.
Are you with me?
I'm definitely with you. But now you gave it a lot more than 8, as I read in your book. You were.
Yes, but I lived it, see? It was a life to me.
You worked tirelessly. I mean, yeah. It got to the point where it interfered with your personal home life. Looking back, was it worth it?
Well, to me it was. Mm-hmm. To the other party, not, of course. Yeah. But to me it was. You know, that was a driving force for me. And if I had not have done it, I don't know what I would have done with my hours.
Well, you worked hard at it, and you made a success for yourself and a success for so many other people, and you made music for a whole generation. But along the way, you earned a couple of interesting names. Who is Avery Vandenberg?
Well, Avery Vandenberg, that's me.
That's you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, and what happened with that, at the time, during the prejudice times that we were in, we were writing songs, not only R&B songs, we were writing other songs. Mm-hmm. And so Barry had us with Joe Bett was our R&B line, and he had another line called Stein and Van Stock, which was with ASCAP. So we had a company with BI and a company with ASCAP.
Okay.
Well, with ASCAP, we couldn't be the same person.
Right.
And they weren't letting a lot of blacks into ASCAP in those days.
I see.
So we changed our names. I became Avery Vandenberg. Smokey had another name. Holland Doja had another name.
Okay.
So now we could write in both lines. You with me?
Absolutely. Smart move.
Yeah.
So
under Stein Sandstock, which was the name of the publishing company. You see? And every time we got awards or something, we wouldn't go get them because the name and the face wouldn't go together.
didn't match. Didn't match. You guys did have a lot of fun. You really did have a lot of fun. But you earned another name along the way, Il Duce.
Well, that was a Mussolini name that was given to me by the band.
How did that happen?
Because, well, I had certain rules and regulations, and if you break them, you had a problem with me.
Mm-hmm.
And they would call me Il Duce because I would say, I want you here at such and such a time.
I see.
Later, don't come bringing me a story. If you got a story, you better call me before the time gets here that you should be here. And the reason is, I got 5 producers in line to get into that studio and record.
Mm-hmm.
And they're waiting for each one of them to get there 2 or 3 hours, and the next one is in the next. And they won't go home and come back. They'd rather stay around the studio and play cards and stuff and wait till their turn to get in. Now, if you don't show up to play the drums and you're on the bass, whatever your story is, that won't work. Now, and the name came from Benny Benjamin, the drummer.
Mm-hmm.
He started with that because he said, "Man, you run this like an army." And I said, "Well, if you're on time, you wouldn't hit nothing from me. But when you're not," and I had to go get him sometimes. He was on drugs.
Oh, I see. Oh,
yes,
yeah.
and go to the drug house and get him.
That's always difficult to deal with.
One of the best drummers in the world. Once you set him on the drums and put the sticks in his hand, forget it. You got to take the sticks out of his hand and get him off the drums.
So you were really like a taskmaster. Was that because you were in the military prior to Motown?
Yeah, that had something to do with it, but it was a joyful task. I mean, everybody, they had different names for me in different situations. Mm-hmm. But those who understood what was happening, like Barry and Smokey and a few others, they loved it because it was moving. Now, the same guy that would go crazy on me, call me those names, he would come later on at night. He'd say, "Man, I got a problem." I said, "What's your problem?" He'd tell me. I said, "Let's fix it." Mm-hmm. So, on the other hand, I would be a cousin, an uncle, a father, a friend to everybody. Everybody had a different feeling with me. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And I had to keep up with what I was dealing with so I can get the best out of them. And it ain't always the music sometimes. Sometimes it's the personal problems they would be bringing. I say, "What is your problem?" And they go to telling me. I say, "Okay, forget about the song right now. Break it down to me. How do you feel about that?" Well, I get into that kind of a conversation.
You were so many different things to so many people. Whatever they needed, you would fill that space as a father, or brother, cousin.
Exactly.
Whatever.
At 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, you would get midnight calls?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mickey, do you have any personal motto? Anything that, that keeps you going? Something that you wake up to every morning?
Yes.
What is that?
I learned over a period of time, and I'll tell you what it is and how and why I got to that. I learned over a period of time that these gifts that are given to all of us, and some of us 2 or 3 gifts, and how we handle it is up to us. I learned that they came from a source greater than us. Mm-hmm. When I got that message, it brought in a whole nother focus to me. And now my focus is with God and the talent, and thanking him for the gift. And with that, I could go for the next 10 years, the next 20 years, as long as I keep that in my face. Not my ego, not my pride. Forget all that.
May I ask your age?
Well, let me put it to you this way.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
This Motown has been here, say, almost 65 years, right?
Yeah.
I didn't start when I was 2 years old. So whatever number you want to add to that, I'll be the age.
So what is the secret to your youthful appearance? You look great every time I see you on TV or in a movie. You look stunning. You look shining. What's the secret?
The same source that gave me the gift also gave me the ability to stay as youthful as I can, as long as I don't think of age and numbers and time, only think of gift and helping others. The gift for that is to look and stay like I am. Not only that, but I may be able to ask God for give me another 10 years.
Wow. Can you put in a good word for me too?
I'm giving it to you right now.
I want to talk about your book for a few minutes. We've been talking about so many different things, but your book is called Motown's First A&R Man Presents the A&R Man. We're hoping that will become a movie, as we talked about a little bit earlier, maybe a TV series. But in this book, you talked about so many of the Motown stars that you had a chance to work with. And you described Diana Ross as a person who was dedicated. Can you expand on that just a little bit?
She was determined. Man, she was one of the most determined people I met. And not only her voice developed because she stayed working with it as well, which is a great thing. But it hit me really strong when we were putting the artist in what we call artist development.
Right.
That was a stage where, like I was telling Barry, I come from another place. I come from a place with Lionel Hampton and the Hamptons. I was a Hampton as a kid, singing, we're flying home. I was throwing the bug around, dancing. But the bottom line is, I saw some of the greatest sound and lights and stage productions in the world.
Wow.
All embedded in my head when I got to Motown.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So when the opportunity presented itself, and there was one thing that Barry recognized with me, even wrote in his book, that he started working the artists around them because of what I showed him.
Mm-hmm.
Not try to make the artist into the deal, work the deal around the artist. Let them be the focus. When I saw all these things work, so Barry and I wanted to, I said, we got to develop. I mean, saying them one thing on the stage, I mean, on the record, but visually, they gotta come on, man. They gotta look better than that.
Sure.
They don't know how to stand. They don't know, they just stand there and sing and mic and walk with it. It don't work like that.
Right.
He said, what do you got in mind? I said, we got to do some development. We got to do some studying. They got to do learn how to talk well, walk right, move. That's a whole other ballgame. Mm-hmm. So let's give them so much time a day that they go through this process and develop their performances on stage. Forget about the song. We know they're going to sing the song,
right,
but you can lose the artist visually and lose the record because they don't like the way they look at what they're doing. He said, what you got in mind? I said, we got to get a development process going here.
Mm-hmm.
He said, we get choreographers, we get teachers, they go to school. And give them an hour or two every day. And those who don't want to go, they can't come in the studio and record unless they go.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
I say, let's start with our good ones, and then everybody that comes know that's part of the routine when you come to this company. Not only do you record, you got to do this, and this, and be on time. Now, I said all that to set this up for this reason. When it came down to working with the artists who already had the records happening, their egos and their pride was already stacking up. Mm-hmm. So when it's time to rehearse, they find reasons not to get there, and then I have to now the Ducci part comes out. I said, no, you want to cut your next record? You better get your ass in that studio, in that room for the development. Mm-hmm. If I find you're not in there and signed in, you're not recording until you do.
Wow.
Now, when it came down to Diana Ross and the Supremes, not only would she go in and do her regular hour with the girls, she would stay. She would hope somebody didn't show up so she can take that hour. Are you getting the picture here?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the teacher stopped with her. She said, can I do it one more time? it got to the point that they would say, okay, now add your stuff to what I just showed you.
Wow.
She would never leave the place. We'd have to put her out.
So she definitely deserved the spot as not just a member of the Supremes, but Diana Ross and the Supremes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I remember hearing that on the radio for the first time, and I thought, wow, she's different than the other two girls. She's definitely got something going there.
She would not stop.
Did the other girls complain when it went from the Supremes to Diana Ross and the Supremes?
Well, they had a few words, but the words were not half as powerful as Diana's appearance when she walked on, because of all the studying and hard work she put into it. You couldn't deny that. Now, if you want to be that way, then do what she's doing.
And she did look good. When she came onto the stage, it was magic, just absolute magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right smile, right stand, right hand movement, but the whole 9 yards. And that would sit there. She would work with the people and get it together. Not only that, getting in and out of a car. The whole 9 yards. When I say do it all.
Wow.
You with me?
Absolutely, 100%. Mickey, you have so many great stories to tell. I would like to continue this interview for the next couple of days if we could do that, but I can't take up too much of your time. But I do want you to tell me a little bit about how you discovered the Four Tops.
I saw them when I was come home on a furlough from the Army. And I went to what we call our theater. It was like Apollo in New York, but we had one of those kind of theaters in Detroit. We had the amateur contest, the movie, the cartoon, and then the amateur contest again, and you know, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And so the Four Tops, before Ames at the time, were on that contest. They were one of the people bidding for the first, prize. I'm in there in my suit, my Army outfit, and I'm enjoying the show with the girls and all that. And when the amateur show came on, and different people sang, when these guys came out, it blew my mind. I said, wow. They did a song, and they took a song in 3 different stages. They took it from R&B to jazz to pop, all in the same song. And they would go like, singing lines like that. It was right on it.
Wow.
It was incredible. And I said, boy, these guys are great. And the sound was great. And the Levi was great. And as a matter of fact, that was one of the things that made me decide to go into the music business.
Oh, interesting.
Watching them,
Yeah.
I said, these guys are great. One day going to be stars. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to re-up because I wanted to stay in the Army, of course. And then I was going to re-up. After seeing them, I said, nope, that's it. I'm coming out. I'm going into the show business. At any rate, later on, after being an A&R man and I'm working, we're good with the company. Things is happening. Barry said to me, hey, man, I want a jazz line. I said, a jazz line? We got this less than 10-15% of the market. We want to mess with that for. He said, we got to diversify. So I want a jazz label. You say you can do anything. That was my slogan at Motown. I can do anything. If it's got anything to do with this business, I can handle it. He said, okay. We always bet on that, too, We bet a lot of money on those things.
Oh, I want to hear about that.
He said, okay, you say you can do anything. Give me a jazz line. I said, okay, man, I got to go where the jazz is at. I got to go to New York and places like that. Man, give me a couple of weeks. Let me get out there and see what's going on. He said, okay. I fly into New York. I meet all the best guys, the best. And I've even got getting into an album with all the guys together. This way here I can try to get them to join us contractually. In those days, jazz artists would play with you, and then you would play with your buddy, and they would take everybody be on different albums with different people.
Sure.
We're cooking. So I decided I'd put them all together and make them do an album for Motown, and while I can get a chance to talk to them individually and see who I can lock down to be on the label as an artist.
Interesting.
Well, I got this session going. It's going great. Session's going great. The conductor and arranger, who was marvelous, I can't think of his name right now. I mean, the guy was incredible. I mean, he would stop right in the middle of the song because something didn't work for him, start all over again, put his face against the speakers. The speakers was blasted. And this thing is going on and on and on. And I said, oh, man, okay, that's it. So I called Barry. I said, listen, man, we got two problems. First of all, I'll finish this product and bring it in. And I'm going to bring in the arranger because he's magnificent. But these guys won't want to sign like that. It's going to be forever getting one of them to be on our label as an artist direct. He said, well, what you going to do? I said, I got this idea. I'm going to get me like a Nancy Wilson, and then I'm going to have these musicians record with her. That'll give us the jazz sound, and we got an artist, and that artist would be our artist, and we can move that. He said, great idea.
Yeah.
So he said, what you going to do? I said, now that kind of artist, I got to find them. They're in Chicago. So I'm going to leave here and I'm going to Chicago. But tonight, tomorrow night, I'm just going to rest. He said, okay, you got it. So this is my rest period in New York. I don't want to see nothing else. I go down to, the Village.
Uh-huh.
And I see a sign that said Billy Eckstein.
Oh.
I said, oh, great. I can relax, watch my man be, and cool out. So I go in, sit down to hear Billy Eckstein. I'm giving myself a break. Who opens the show but four guys called the Four Tops?
Okay.
They come out and they sang. I said, these are the guys that I saw when I was on a furlough. So I told the owner, I said, I want to have those, I want to talk to them. Like that. So he came over, I'm buying drinks and everything. And I said, hey, man, I saw you guys in Detroit years ago, blah, 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 blah. And, but you were the Four Ames then. And he said, I had no idea you were the same group. I said, here's the deal. You come back to Detroit and sign with me, I'll make you stars. So they said, looked at me like I was crazy. They said, first of all, who are you?
Right. Sure, of course. They didn't know you.
Never met me personally, no.
I see.
I said, I'm the A&R man at Motown. I sign the artists, bring artists in, and blah, 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 blah. They say, Motown. They say, man, at Motown, y'all do that R&B stuff and all that. And we don't sing that. We sing jazz. And I say, hold it, my friend. You sing songs. You're singers. Let's start with that. You want to hit records, or you want to be doing this forever? And they said, man, that's kind of strong. I said, well, I saw you. I heard you sing. They said, well, what? And then I sang the song for them. I did. They were shocked. And I said,
I'm sure they were.
well, for you guys, I'm in this business. They said, wow. I said, now here's my car. You get to Detroit, you come and see me, and I'll make you stars.
Wow.
And so took the car, and by that time the owner said, okay, you guys, come on, showtime. So they got up out the seat. I got up because I was done now. That was a happy moment for me. I got up out of my seat. I'm heading for the door. I stopped. I turned around and I sang the song to them again. And they started singing me. And I walked on. That was it, right?
Oh,
2
man.
weeks later, they come to my office. They said, man, we couldn't forget what you said. We're here. I said, okay. I reached in my drawer, pulled out 4 contacts, kept all contacts next in my drawer. I wouldn't change nothing. I pulled them out. I put them. I say, y'all take this to your lawyer, take them to your cousin, take them wherever you want to take them to. I said, bottom line is, I'm not changing nothing on that paperwork.
Wow.
They said, wait a minute. I said, take them out of here. You got them. They pick up my contracts. They left. About 20 minutes later, they came back in the room. Say, you got a pen? I said, yeah. I gave him some pens. Duke Faker, personally, leaned over my desk, pointed his finger in my face. He said, you said you're going to make us stars. I'm going to hold you responsible for that. I ain't thinking about this contract. I'm talking to you. I said, okay, that's what we're going to do. We leave. They signed them on the spot right there.
Wow.
Right? I go over to the studio. I'm out in there talking and all that. Barry Gordy comes over, and he said, hey, man, you signed these 4 guys. You know how many groups we got in here? I said, I know, Barry, but these guys are incredible. He said, but I said, hold it, Barry. Hang on one second. I said, Tops, come in. Levi, sing a song. Y'all sing one song right now. They said, what song? I said, I don't care what you sing. Just sing. When they opened up and started singing, Barry looked at me and said, oh, my God. He just walked out.
Wow. Wow, what a story. And the hits just keep on coming.
Yep.
Oh, man. What a great story, Mickey. I mean, you actually had the power to say, I'm going to make you a star.
I felt I could do that with them. I mean, they already had the voices. All they needed was the songs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody in the world at the time. He was incredible.
Did you ever use that line on a lady? I have the power to make you a star.
Okay, person line. We'll pass it up. We'll talk about that the next meeting.
Okay. I want to get a little bit to something like that, but you had a song that I used to listen to on a radio station when I was a kid. There was a station down I-75 from Detroit in Dayton, Ohio, called WDAO.
WDAO, right?
1077 WDAO. Soul Radio.
Yeah.
I used to listen to that all the time. And they played this song from Motown, and it was called Devil with a Blue Dress.
Yeah.
I never thought that was a Motown song until somebody actually said it on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, was the lady in this blue dress, was she one of your girls?
No, I got to tell you this. It's in the book, though, but I'll tell you.
Okay.
Shorty Long and I wrote that song together.
Mm-hmm.
Shorty Long was about a little over between 3 and 4 feet tall. He was,
okay.
All right. Here's a guy, when he sat at the piano, I kid you not, when he sat down at the piano, his feet could not touch the pedals. You know those pedals that you press on the piano?
Sure.
His feet couldn't touch the pedal. He couldn't touch the pedal. All right. Shorty Long was writing on this tune when I came into the studio, because he stayed all night. He never would go home.
All right.
And I said, what you working on? I say, man, I got this tune about this girl, so he got into it. So I got with him. All of a sudden, we started cooking on this song. And I stopped the song. I said, wait a minute, man, you actually see this girl. He said, William R. He called me William R. William R., I love them when they tall. Now, can you imagine him that short, loving women tall? I mean, it's just amazing.
Would you say he was in over his head?
Shorty Long, I got to tell you this, Shorty Long said to me, William R., when you lay down, you're the same size.
There you go. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
But that song came from that idea of this girl that he saw.
Wow.
And we saw her in our head now. He gave me the picture, so we were into it. You know what I mean? We just went right away. And it was incredible. It was incredible. That's where it comes from.
Fee, fee, fi, fi, fo, fo, fum.
Remember, that's from a giant. That's from the story of the giant. Remember?
Yeah.
I smell the blood of a blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But because Shorty Long was so small, he liked them big and tall.
What a great story. You have so many great stories. Again, I know many of these stories are in the book, but being a DJ, I have one more question I want to ask you before we play the name game. And that was the chapter in your book about gifts and goodies. Can you explain that for our listeners and for other radio people who might be listening?
Well, the gifts are the gifts that God gives you as talent. You know that.
Right.
And sometimes some of us have more than one talent, man. I mean, like, I can tell you talking, you got a few talents already. So, there's, I think goodies, those are the wonderful things you use to pay yourself off for working the talent. You know what I mean?
Did I not read in the book that in order to get songs played on certain radio stations, you had to do a little something extra? Can you talk about that?
Well, we have to help the DJs recognize that we recognize their problem and make them feel as good as we could. You know what I mean? We bring to them, like,
Yeah.
great booze and great fine wines and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Especially when on days and nights when they're there by themselves and just playing records.
Right.
We fire up their evening. And not everybody. You got to pick the stations you're going with. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
Sure.
Others are bribing them and all that. But you pick the right stations. They're glad to see somebody. They're glad to be there and pick them on. Oh, listen, we had records played on holidays, but people would play only Christmas songs. They
Sure.
would play Motown songs because we'd have people go out and sit with them throughout that day at that time when nobody's around and have a good time while they played records. So they're going to play our records. You with me?
Yes, indeed. But I would guess that you probably didn't need to do that because all the music that was coming out of Motown was just so fantastic. And you're still making great songs. Now, didn't I hear that I think Whoopi Goldberg said that you had a part in this song called I Can't Breathe by Dietrich Haddon. Is that correct?
Yes. Dietrich had great song. Wonderful song. Did you get a copy of that?
I did get a copy of that from our friend Jeffrey Quest, who also
Yes.
produced Arrow Flow.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I Can't Breathe, man. That was from the heart again.
Yep.
Dietrich was working. I'm at the house with him. He's an incredible artist. He was had the #1 gospel album
Right.
3-4 weeks in a row, then come out with a single that was a smash. So his talent to me, Dietrich is like a Marvin Gaye.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
That sound,
Yeah.
that gift as a producer, writer, and performer. And I really got into him.
Yes. And so did Whoopi, and so did a whole legion of fans.
And it's growing by that. We're doing a concert now called on him called A Voice to Vote.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Just in time.
Yes, just in time. And we're having, he's putting all his songs together. I asked him to do, I don't know if you remember this song. I asked him to do Bob Dylan's, you're going to serve somebody. Remember that song?
Sure.
I love that song. And I said, Dietrich, if you sang that song, you'll get a whole new audience.
Oh, so true. Like Jimi Hendrix with All Along the Watchtower.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
So, Mickey Stevenson, we've had you working so hard, telling us about all the items that are in your book, all the things that have been happening in your life. You have so many great stories. Well, it's turned into several movies already about Motown. And of course, the upcoming movie, I hope I can say the upcoming movie or television series about your life from your book. But I want to take you on a vacation right now. Where would you like to go? If I could take you any place in the world, where would you like to go, Mickey Stevenson?
I would like to go to Japan
Oh,
and eat some of that incredible food where they throw that chicken on the rocks and all that.
oh yeah.
Oh, man, I've never forgotten it.
Okay.
And the sights there would be phenomenal for me. And I'd like to take my lady with me so she can see that, which would be just a joy for her. That would be a joy. And I'd like to go to, there's a little island outside of Hawaii. I can't think of the name of it.
Kauai? Maui?
Kauai.
Kauai, okay.
I'd like to go there.
Yep. By the way, they have a radio station there called KONG, Kong Radio.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay, one last question. I want you to stay in this relaxed mode right now. What would you like to drink?
Well,
It's on the house. Anything you want. It can be coffee. It can be liqueur. It can be
I
cola.
like liqueur. I like liqueur, and I like champagne.
Great selections.
Liqueur and champagne. I like both of those. Both of those.
Mickey, I have a few more things I want to say to you. First, once again, congratulations on your book. Motown's first A&R Man presents The A&R Man by William Mickey Stevenson. I've got a copy right here. I'm in the process of reading it, and I will continue reading it because there are just so many rich stories in there. That's first. And second, I just want to say thank you for spending so much time with us and your fans, not only here in Japan, but around the world as well. Thank you so much, Mickey.
Oh, well, you enjoy to talk to. You know, I feel free, comfortable talking with you, which is a good feeling.
Well, thank you too. And do you have any messages for your fans here in Japan and around the world?
Yes. Stay abreast and look out for my book. They can get it through Amazon or order through my site and get a sweater and some autograph. They get through my site, I'll autograph the book personally. And get a T-shirt on I Can't Breathe, the song that comes with it. And so with that advertising program out of the way, I would say that it would be a joy to come there and bring some artists and meet the people live and even talk. I'd like to come in and speak maybe with some of the schools or colleges or whatever. I think would be great just to see their faces and watch the surprising looks and the joy of seeing the youth know what's going on. That would be that's good. Make me feel good. You with me?
I think after this COVID thing, I think that's likely to happen sometime in the near future.
Yes, yes.
All right. Once again, Mickey Stevenson, William Mickey Stevenson, thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother. It was great and wonderful talking with you.
Whole Earth Station.